Good morning, everyone. My name is Akriti Agrawal, and this is my fifth video. And in the last class, we were talking about the pre constitutional laws. So, we have not completed with the pre constitutional laws, and so today we will be continuing with that. Okay. So, firstly, this is Article 13, that is pre-constitutional laws, and that in that I have told you that if any of the provision of a pre-constitutional law, a law which has been enacted prior to the commencement of the Indian Constitution, and if that provision if after the commencement of the constitution, if that provision is being challenged before the court of law, then if the court will examine that provision, and if after scrutinizing that provision, if the court finds that yes, it is devoid of the essential principles of the constitution, then in such situation what the court will do, the court will declare the particular provision of the pre-constitutional law to be unconstitutional and void. Unconstitutional and void. So then I have told you about the consequence of the voidness of the particular provision. That is, it will remain valid prior to the commencement of the constitution, the day when it was enacted. For example, in case of IPC 1860, from 1860 till the commencement of the constitution, that is 26 January 1950, it will remain valid, very well applicable. But it will become void from the date of the commencement, not from the date of the judgment. So, from the date of the commencement of the constitution, it will have the retrospective effect. This voidness have the retrospective effect, and it will become void. Okay, so this is how it is. Now, thereafter, I have given you the example of this pre-constitutional law, and then I have talked about the Section 303 Indian Penal Code 1860. So, in my last class, I have read Section 303 from the Bare Act also, and I have told you that what Section 303 states. Okay, so it was there in the last class. Thereafter, I have told you that in 1983, the constitutional validity of Section 303 IPC was challenged before the Supreme Court, before the Honorable Supreme Court, in the case of Mittu versus State of Punjab. Okay, in the case of Mittu versus State of Punjab. So, in that case, the Honorable Supreme Court held that the Section 303 is violative of the fundamental rights of those convicts. Why? That I have already told you, because it is providing injustice. It is leading to injustice and inequality against the convicts who are being convicted of committing the subsequent offense of murder in jail while they are serving the life sentence. So that I have told you. Okay, so when the Honorable Supreme Court has declared it to be unconstitutional and void, but still we can see that in after 1983, in the thereafter Bare Acts, the provision was still there. In the statute, it was there in the statute, the provision, and in the footnote, that it was mentioned that the Supreme Court has struck down Section 303 in the Mittu versus State of Punjab 1983. But the question arises that why they have kept this provision in the statute book even after the Supreme Court declared it to be unconstitutional. What was the reason? So then I have told you about the doctrine of eclipse. Doctrine of eclipse. and suspended animation. Okay, so now you have to understand this, that see, the provision was not in line with the constitution. That is why it was declared to be unconstitutional and void. But the defect from the provision can be cured. The mischief can be done away with by the subsequent amendments. Okay, the parliament can amend this provision, section 303. What was the defect in that provision on the basis of which it was declared unconstitutional? What was that defect? The defect was that the provision was only prescribing death penalty for the subsequent commission of murder, only death penalty, and no alternative of life imprisonment. So that was the defect only, है ना? So that can be cured by subsequent amendment. The parliament, what can the parliament do is, the parliament can amend the provision, section 303, and can add these words, that the whoever being under sentence of imprisonment for life commits murder shall be punished with death or life imprisonment. So, or life imprisonment, this phrase that can be added in the provision, and that is how the provision can be amended, and it can be made in line with the constitution, and the convicts can be their interest can be protected, the justice can be furthered to them, right? Are you getting it? तो इट इज लाइक दिस. तो हम ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि आप वो बिल्कुल ही इनक्योरेबल इरेगुलरिटी हो गई, उसमें हम डिफेक्ट को क्योर करके उसको अमेंड कर सकते हैं. एंड दैट इज व्हाई इन द होप दैट one or the other day there will be a subsequent amendment in section 303, and then the defect can be cured. It will be made in consonance of the Indian constitution, and then the provision will be revived. Why? Because it has been struck down by the honorable Supreme Court, so it will be revived. But now I will tell you that टिल द टाइम, अब हमें होप तो है कि हाँ किसी भी टाइम फ्यूचर में सब्सिक्वेंट अमेंडमेंट होगा और इसमें जो भी डिफेक्ट है वो क्योर हो जाएगा. बट उतने टाइम तक क्या करना है इस प्रोविजन का? ये प्रोविजन एप्लीकेबल तो होगा नहीं, बट हमारे लॉ में है ये, उन्होंने बिल्कुल इसको रिमूव तो नहीं किया है ना. It is there in the provision in the Bear Act. Sorry, so it means that till the time there is a subsequent amendment in the provision, the doctrine of eclipse will be applicable. The doctrine of eclipse means that this provision, since this provision is devoid of the fundamental core principles of the constitution, that is against the constitution, so the fundamental rights will overshadow this provision. Suppose this is the provision, section 303, and this is the fundamental right, these are the fundamental rights, so the fundamental rights will cover this provision, and it means the fundamental rights have overshadowed this provision. And now actually this provision is there in the provision, but just because these fundamental rights have overshadowed the provision, now they are no more visible. वो विजिबल नहीं होंगे, क्योंकि एक्लिप्स में क्या होता है, डॉक्ट्राइन एक्लिप्स में यही तो होता है ना कि एक चीज है उसको हमने ओवरशैडो कर लिया, तो जो ओवरशैडो कर रहा है उसके नीचे जो भी चीज है वो दिखाई नहीं देगी, इट विल नो मोर बी विजिबल देन, है ना. तो this is what is about the doctrine of eclipse. So in section 303 the doctrine of eclipse was applicable, and the section 303 was overshadowed by the fundamental rights. Overshadowed by the fundamental rights. So this doctrine of eclipse means this. Okay, now since they are covered by fundamental rights, they are no more visible. Actually, they are there, but they are no more visible. So this provision will not be applicable, है ना? And it means, but they are there, they will remain dormant. They will remain dormant. They will remain there, but they will remain dormant means they will remain in the suspended animation. They will remain in the suspended animation. It means that till the time the provision is being amended, constitutionally amended, it will remain in suspended animation. वो सस्पेंडेड रहेगा, वहां पे होगा प्रोविजन ना, बट सस्पेंडेड रहेगा, एप्लीकेबल होगा नहीं होने के बाद भी. Okay, so this is what it is. So the provision will be overshadowed by the fundamental rights, and till the time it is amended, it will remain in the suspended animation. And as soon as it will be amended constitutionally, the provision will be revived. वो फिर से revive हो जाएगा, and then when the provision will be revived, then it means this doctrine, this eclipse will be removed from the provision. This is the provision, and this is how the fundamental rights have overshadowed the provision, है ना, by the way of doctrine of eclipse. Now, since there is amendment in that provision, and now it is in line with the constitution, this fundamental rights, these fundamental rights, these will be removed. They will come out of the provision. वो come out of the provision. वो provision को इसके ऊपर से हट जाएंगे, and then the provision is clearly visible, and it means now the provision will be revived, and now it will be applicable in India. So this is how it is. ऐसे होता है. Okay. तो revived हो जाएगा provision, and the doctrine of eclipse will be removed from the provision, and it will be applicable. ठीक है? तो it is like this. Okay, but now I want to make it clear to you that this doctrine of eclipse, suspended animation, these are only applicable in case of pre-constitutional laws, not in case of post-constitutional laws. Okay, so it is like this, right? Acha, now you can see that in 1983, Section 303 was declared unconstitutional, right? But till today, there was no amendment. The Supreme Court hoped for the subsequent amendment so that Section 303 could be revived, but there was no amendment. Amendment कभी हुआ ही नहीं उसमें ताकि वो constitutionally valid हो. But what the Indian Parliament did was, the Indian Parliament came with the BNS, that is भारतीय न्याय संहिता 2023, है ना? व्हाट शुड आई से, बिल्कुल उससे इंडियन पिनल कोड जब बिल्कुल रिमूव कर दिया गया, हटा दिया गया, तब हमारे पास आया भारतीय न्याय संहिता 2023. ओके, एंड इन BNS 2023, शुड आई राइट दैट? ओके, भारतीय न्याय संहिता 2023. Now we don't have Indian Penal Code applicable in India. Now we have BNS 2023. ओके, अब आईपीसी में तो सब्सिक्वेंट अमेंडमेंट हुआ ही नहीं, तो वो सस्पेंडेड एनिमेशन में ही रहा. डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ एक्लिप्स उस पे था, है ना, एक्लिप्स उस पे था, तो वो सस्पेंडेड एनिमेशन में वो रिवाइव ही नहीं हुआ कभी. बट विद द एनफोर्समेंट ऑफ द BNS 2023, Now we have section 104 of the BNS 2023. What BNS 104 states? Let me read this first, then I will be telling you what it is stating. So section 104 BNS, it is stating punishment for murder by life convict. Whoever being under sentence of imprisonment for life, सेम है, अभी वही आ रहा है 303. Whoever being under the sentence of imprisonment for life commits murder shall be punished with death. अभी तक तो बिल्कुल सेम है 303 की तरह. Shall be punished with death or with imprisonment for life. This is what we need. This is what we needed. है ना, यही तो अमेंडमेंट करना था. अमेंडमेंट करके और विद इम्प्रिजनमेंट फॉर लाइफ, दिस यही फ्रेज डालना था. तो उन्होंने वहां पे नहीं डाला, उन्होंने बीएनएस में डाल दिया, नया बीएनएस बनाया. तो है ना, तो शैल बी पनिश्ड विद डेथ और विद इम्प्रिजनमेंट फॉर लाइफ, which shall mean the remainder of that person's natural life. The remainder of that person's natural life. So now what they are trying to say, it means the requirement in order to revive that provision was fulfilled in the BNS section 104. So now section 104 BNS, it is in line with the fundamental core principles of the constitution. It is in consonance with the fundamental rights of that convict, because now the judicial officer has the power, has the discretion to either award the death penalty or to award the life imprisonment by considering taking into consideration the facts and circumstances of the case. है ना, तो वही तो हमें लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट ही तो ऐड करना था, तो वो अब उन्होंने ऐड कर दिया है. एंड द डिफेक्ट हैज बीन क्योर्ड, राइट. तो नाउ सेक्शन 104 इज वेरी वेल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एंड वेरी वेल एप्लीकेबल इन इंडिया. ठीक है, बट अब हमें इसमें जो भी ये डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ एक्लिप्स और एक्लिप्स को रिमूव, फंडामेंटल राइट्स को ओवरशैडो, वो फंडामेंटल राइट ओवरशैडो जो है उसको हटाने का, या फिर ये प्रोविजन रिवाइव करने की रिक्वायरमेंट ही नहीं आई, क्योंकि अब हमने पूरा ही बीएनएस नया बना दिया और उसमें नया 104 इनैक्ट कर दिया प्रोविजन, है ना. तो दिस इज व्हाट इट इज, right. So that is how the pre-constitutional laws can be, any of the pre-constitutional law can be challenged before the Honorable Supreme Court, and they can declare it to be unconstitutional and void, right, from the date of the commencement of the constitution. Okay, so I hope you are getting it. So next I will be telling you about the same thing is there with regard to section 497 of the IPC, which talks about the adultery, which talks about the adultery. So IPC में adultery था, adultery was a criminal offense, it was a crime, right. But with the judgment of the Joseph Shine versus Union of India 2018 Supreme Court, it was the provision section 497 IPC was declared unconstitutional and void, and adultery was decriminalized. पहले वो crime था, एक offense था, but now it is no more an offense. It is no more an offense in IPC also. वैसे IPC में but subsequent amendment नहीं हुआ था. This judgment was applicable and there was no subsequent amendment. Let me check this once. ओके, तो वहां पे कोई सब्सिक्वेंट अमेंडमेंट नहीं हुआ था, बट नाउ इन बीएनएस वी कैन से दैट देयर इज नो provision of adultery, because adultery is no more an offense. It has been decriminalized by the Honorable Supreme Court. So now I want to tell you that I have told you the what can be included in the Indian society. So we have talked about the laws enacted by the parliament. That is, we have completed with the pre-constitutional law. Okay. Secondly, I have told you about the. Secondly, I have told you about the. Should I write those? So you might have remembered that we were talking about this. I have told you in my, I think in my second class, yes, I think in my second class, that Indian society covers four things. That is, first, the laws enacted by the parliament and state legislatures, and secondly, the constitutional authorities, and thirdly, the legislature, judiciary, and executive. Correct? Then fourth is people of India. That is, I have told you, political sovereign. Right? So we have completed with this laws enacted by the parliament, be it the post-constitutional laws, be it the pre-constitutional laws. Fine. Now we will be heading towards the people of India. We have completed with this, and now we are heading towards the people of India. Okay, this people of India, that is the political sovereign. Now, I have told you in my previous classes that the laws enacted by the parliament, while the parliament enacts the law, it is the duty of the parliament to take care of the fundamental core principles, to inculcate the essence of the fundamental core principles, that is justice, liberty, equality, reasonableness, non-arbitrariness, so and so forth in that law, so that the particular law, each and every provision of the law can be in line with the constitution. Okay, so that it can, it is not devoid of the fundamental rights of the citizens of India, right? But this is not only the duty, this is not only applicable on the laws being enacted by the parliament, but we are the people of India. We are political sovereign because we have the democratic form of government. In India, the people are the sovereign. They are the supreme, not the constitutional functionaries. That is president, vice president, so and so forth, prime minister. They are not the supreme. They are the representatives of the people of India, and they are being indirectly elected by the people of India. Correct. So we are the political sovereign, but the Indian constitution is the legal sovereign. Indian constitution is the legal sovereign. The Indian constitution is the legal sovereign, which means that the people of India, they bow down before the Indian constitution. They cannot be above the Indian constitution. Rather, Indian constitution is the grand norm, the essential principles, fundamental core principles of the constitution. It is the grand norm. And we, the people of India, it is our duty also to inculcate the essence of the fundamental core principles of the constitution in our lives. Okay, see, our Indian constitution provides us with the fundamental rights. We have the fundamental rights, and we are entitled to exercise our fundamental rights. Correct? We are entitled to exercise our fundamental rights, and the state, that is the executive and the legislature also, they are duty bound to not to protect our fundamental rights, and to not to do anything which is taking away, which is wrongfully taking away our fundamental rights from us. For example, let's talk about Article 13 Clause 2. है ना? Let's talk about Article 13 Clause 2. That is the post-constitutional laws. So what it states, that the parliament or the state legislatures, as the case may be, they cannot enact such a law which is which is abridging the fundamental rights of the citizens of India. If a particular law or any provision of the particular law, it is inconsistent with the fundamental rights of the citizen of India, or we can say wrongfully taking the fundamental rights of the people of India, then such law will be declared as unconstitutional and void ab initio by the Honorable Supreme Court. करेक्ट, वो तो आपको मैंने पहले ही बताया था, है ना, दैट यू नो. तो द सुप्रीम कोर्ट, द ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट विल एक्सरसाइज its power of judicial review, and will declare that law to be unconstitutional. अब वो तो हमें पता है कि वो या तो डिक्लेयर करेंगे अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल, या फिर उसमें कुछ मॉडिफिकेशन करके लिबरल इंटरप्रिटेशन, पर्पसिव इंटरप्रिटेशन देके उनको इन लाइन विद द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन करेंगे, है ना, फंडामेंटल राइट्स को प्रोटेक्ट करेंगे, ऐसा कुछ करेंगे ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट, है ना. तो दिस इज इट नाउ. तो दैट मीन्स दैट स्टेट executive and the legislature, they have the duty to protect the fundamental rights of the people of India. Otherwise, fundamental rights are enforceable and justiciable. Fundamental rights are enforceable and non-justiciable. I hope my writing is legible. Okay, so fundamental rights are enforceable and justiciable. What does that mean now? It means that I have already told you, that if the legislature makes any law which is inconsistent with the fundamental rights of the people of India, then the people of India have the right to approach the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Indian Constitution, or to approach the High Court under Article 226 of the Constitution, and can get the law declared as unconstitutional and void. This void ab initio. This is what is the meaning of एनफोर्सिएबल, वो उसको एनफोर्स करा सकते हैं, अपने फंडामेंटल राइट्स को प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं। अगर मेरा फंडामेंटल राइट वायलेट हो रहा है, स्टेट ने कुछ एग्जीक्यूटिव एक्शन ऐसा कुछ किया है, या फिर लेजिस्लेचर ने कोई एक ऐसा लॉ बनाया है जिससे, लेजिस्लेचर का इंटेंशन तो ये है कि पीपल ऑफ इंडिया को जस्टिस मिले, ultimate ends ultimate purpose of the judiciary, executive, legislature is what? To protect the ends of justice, to ensure the ends of justice of the people of India, उन्हें justice provide करना है। but अगर वो पर्टिकुलर लॉ जस्टिस मुझे प्रोवाइड नहीं कर रहा, रादर मेरा फंडामेंटल राइट वायलेट कर रहा है, एंड माई फंड आई एम एंटाइटल्ड to get to exercise my fundamental right legally, है ना, legally and reasonably, so then I can approach the Supreme Court and get the law to be unconstitutional. So this is what is the meaning of fundamental rights are enforceable and justiciable. Okay, so this is what it is. Now another thing, we all are the people of India, and we have the fundamental rights. We can exercise them. Our constitution is providing us with the fundamental rights. But you must appreciate this, that the fundamental rights are not the absolute rights. They are not the absolute rights. Right? Fundamental rights are not absolute. They are not absolute. Rather, they are subject to reasonable restrictions. Okay, they are subject to reasonable restrictions. What does that mean? See, nothing can be absolute in the Indian society, nor the laws enacted by the legislature, nor the powers, the rights of the people of India, nor the powers of the constitutional functionaries, the powers which have been provided by the Indian constitution to the constitutional functionaries in the governance part that I have told you, राइट, तो नथिंग कैन बी एब्सोल्यूट, सबका कहीं ना कहीं एक रेस्ट्रिक्शन सब पर लगा हुआ है, किसी की पावर एब्सोल्यूट नहीं हो सकती, किसी के राइट्स एब्सोल्यूट नहीं हो सकते, कहीं ना कहीं तो हमें एक रीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगाना पड़ेगा, एंड दैट टू अ रीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शन, नॉट अनरीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शन, नॉट आर्बिट्रेरी रेस्ट्रिक्शंस, ओके, बट absolute powers किसी के पास नहीं हो सकती, because there might be possibility that the person who has the right to exercise his fundamental right, he may exercise his fundamental right arbitrarily by violating the fundamental rights of other person, so that cannot be allowed. So in that situation, the reasonable restrictions should be put upon him in exercising his fundamental rights. I hope you are getting it. राइट, तो कहीं ना कहीं तो हमें कुछ रेस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाने पड़ेंगे, तो दिस इज व्हाट द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज टॉकिंग अबाउट. द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज नॉट ओनली प्रोवाइडिंग अस with our fundamental rights, rather the Indian constitution is also providing us with the reasonable restrictions which can be put upon our fundamental rights, that to that extent we can exercise our fundamental right. But if we go beyond this extent, then we cannot exercise our fundamental right, and the reasonable restrictions will be imposed on our fundamental right. Again and again, what I am telling you, reasonable restrictions, unreasonable restrictions nahi lag sakte hain. Correct. Now let's take the examples, because examples the make even the toughest concepts easy to understand. So now we are taking the example in order to understand this. Okay. Oh, yes, 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 that's correct. Arrest. Let's talk about arrest. So, Article 21. Article 21 gives provides with the fundamental right to every citizen, be it the citizen, be it the non-citizen, that every person has the right to life and personal liberty. है ना? Right to life and personal liberty. Right to life and personal liberty under Article 21. Under Article 21. So the right to life, it means that every person has the right to life and personal liberty. Personal liberty means that he cannot be confined wrongfully. उसका जहाँ मन है वो वहाँ जा सकता है, और लिबर्टी है वो अपना लाइफ अपने अकॉर्डिंग जिए, है ना? बट ऐसे तो नहीं ना कि आप अपनी लाइफ अपने अकॉर्डिंग जी सकते हो बट किसी और को लॉस कर सकते हो. If we now you must appreciate this, that every person in the Indian society has the rights, have the legal rights, the fundamental rights, but along with that he also has the corresponding legal duty, the fundamental duty. Okay, the rights and duty, they go hand in hand. It cannot be possible that I have the legal right, I have the fundamental right, but I don't have any legal duty, I don't have any fundamental duty. No. If I am expecting others that they should respect my fundamental rights, they should respect my fundamental duty, legal rights, they should not violate my legal rights, then I also owe the duty towards others that I also should not violate the fundamental rights of others. I should not violate the legal rights of others. So this is my legal duty. मेरे पास राइट है तो मेरे पास ड्यूटी भी है कि मैं किसी और के राइट्स को वायलेट ना करूं. ओके, तो दिस इज हाउ इट इज. So, suppose a person, he has every person has the right to life and personal liberty. He cannot be arbitrarily confined in a particular place without any rhyme and reason, that we know. ठीक है? But suppose there is an accused person and he has been accused of committing a particular offense. He has been alleged to have committed a particular offense. Okay, suppose theft. We know it means if he is an accused, it means in the FIR his name is there. In the FIR his name is there, and that is why after the registering of the FIR, the investigating officer will initiate the investigation. But we know that just because there is an FIR against that accused person, it does not mean that now he has to be mandatorily be arrested. Arrest तो बिल्कुल भी जरूरी नहीं है, unless and until the situations, the conditions of section 41. I hope you are getting it. ओके, तो अब मैं बात कर रही हूँ अरेस्ट की, आपको ये समझाने के लिए कि फंडामेंटल राइट्स एब्सोल्यूट नहीं होते, उन पे रीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शंस लगते हैं, अनरीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शंस नहीं लगते. ठीक है, तो फंडामेंटल राइट हमारा हो गया कि हमारे पास राइट टू लाइफ एंड पर्सनल लिबर्टी है. ठीक है, बट नाउ आई एम गिविंग यू द एग्जांपल दैट द अक्यूज्ड पर्सन हैज बीन अरेस्टेड एंड he has been arrested and no, sorry, I'm so sorry, the accused person has not been arrested, rather the FIR has been lodged against him. But just because the FIR has been lodged, it is not at all required to arrest him until and unless the situations, the conditions of section 41 CRPC, that is Code of Criminal Procedure. 1973 और 35 BNSS, 23 are being fulfilled. So there are some conditions being mentioned in this provision, wherein it is there that the investigating officer in the cognizable offense has the power to arrest the accused person, but he can only arrest the accused person when the conditions of this section are being fulfilled, otherwise not, right? So that we will be discussing in detail later on. ओके, तो नाउ जब तक इसकी कंडीशंस फुलफिल नहीं होंगी, अरेस्ट करने की कोई रिक्वायरमेंट ही नहीं है. This is there is a saying that in the Indian criminal jurisprudence that an accused person is innocent until proven guilty. An accused person is innocent until proven guilty. What does that mean? This is the concept. This is the saying in the Indian criminal jurisprudence that till the time the court, after the investigation process, after the inquiry process, after the trial, completion of the trial, when the court finally finds that yes, the accused person is guilty of committing the offense, till that time the accused person is presumed to be innocent. He is innocent until proven guilty. तब तक उसको हम guilty नहीं मानेंगे, क्योंकि अभी तक उसके against जो allegations लगाए हैं, अभी तक तो allegations ही तो हैं कि उसने ये किया, उसने ये किया. FIR में तो allegations है. Allegations को with the help of evidences prove करना पड़ेगा. तो वो कहाँ prove करेंगे? ट्रायल में. तब तक तो वो innocent है ना. इसीलिए जब अक्यूज पर्सन इनोसेंट है तो हम उसके फंडामेंटल राइट्स तो उससे नहीं छीन लेंगे ना, आर्बिट्रेरी तो नहीं छीन लेंगे उससे उसके फंडामेंटल राइट्स. तो इसीलिए हम विदाउट एनी राइम एंड रीजन हम उसको अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकते. बट अगर इस प्रोविजन के कंडीशंस फुलफिल होंगे तभी इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग ऑफिसर में अरेस्ट द अक्यूज पर्सन, अदरवाइज नॉट. ठीक है, तो इट मीन्स now I will take the two situations. Okay, I will take the two situations. So what happens is that suppose the conditions of this section of this provision are being fulfilled and the investigating officer finds it required to arrest the accused person immediately because the conditions, अब बहुत सारी conditions हैं, बहुत सारे requirements हैं, वो fulfill हो रहे हैं, and the investigating officer has reasons of arresting that accused person, and therefore the accused person is being arrested. अभी investigation चल रहा है, अभी तो inquiry और सारा that trial process तो अभी रह गया है, investigation चल रहा है, but ऐसी कुछ information आती है investigating officers के पास that now it is very much required to arrest this accused person. ठीक है, तो the investigating officer arrests the accused person. Now the arrest means what? He has been confined to a particular place and now he cannot roam in the society without any restriction. There is restriction imposed upon his fundamental right to life and personal liberty. उसका right and personal liberty हम curtail कर रहे हैं उसको arrest करके, है ना, curtail कर रहे हैं. तो now you tell me that whether it is the reasonable restriction or the unreasonable restriction. Reasonable restriction, right? It is the reasonable restriction. If the investigating officer is able to provide proper, valid reasons, justifiable reasons in arresting the accused person and able to prove that yes, section 41 CRPC and section 35 BNSS requirements are being fulfilled, then only we can say that the arrest was legal, it was a legal arrest, and the restriction imposed on his fundamental right is the reasonable restriction. अब वो ये नहीं कह सकता अक्यूज पर्सन कि आपने मुझे अरेस्ट कर लिया, आपने मेरा फंडामेंटल राइट वायलेट कर दिया, और हमारे यहाँ तो ये सेम है कि मैं तो इनोसेंट हूँ, जब तक गिल्टी प्रूव नहीं होगा तो आप मुझे अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकते. I have my fundamental right under Article 21. The accused person cannot allege this. Why? Because it is a reasonable restriction. The fundamental rights of the person are not absolute, right? They are subjected to reasonable restrictions, and the legal arrest is the curtailment of his fundamental right, which is the reasonable curtailment, reasonable restriction upon his right to life and personal liberty. Are you getting it? Okay, so it is like this. तो यहाँ पे तो लीगल हुआ तो रीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शन ला सकते हैं, नो प्रॉब्लम. फंडामेंटल राइट को हमने उसके कर्टेल किया और कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज who is above the who is above, people of India or the Indian Constitution? Indian Constitution. And Indian Constitution also says that if you are doing anything wrong, then your fundamental rights will be curtailed, reasonable restrictions will be imposed on your fundamental right. तो वो होगा, उनका फंडामेंटल राइट कर्टेल होगा, बिकॉज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हमें ये अलाउ कर रहा है. ओके, नाउ द सेकेंड सिचुएशन, the investigating officer, he has no reasonable ground of arresting the accused person, no reasonable ground, but arbitrarily, for in order to take revenge, in order to do something. Okay, that we know. ठीक है, तो in order to do something, what the investigating officer does is he arbitrarily arrests the accused person. There was not at all requirement of arresting the accused person, which means the requirements, the conditions of this provision were not being fulfilled, but still he has arrested him. And when the accused person is arrested, it means what? He has no justifiable reasons. It means it is an illegal arrest, illegal detention of the accused person. Illegal arrest or detention of the accused person. And when it is the illegal arrest, it means there is curtailment on his fundamental right to life and personal liberty. But what curtailment? Reasonable or unreasonable? Unreasonable restriction, है ना, arbitrary restriction. It was not required, but still he was arrested, है ना, तो उसका fundamental right हमने unreasonably curtail किया है. And the Indian Constitution does not allow unreasonable, arbitrary, unjust, unfair restriction on the fundamental rights of the people. This is what the state, the executive, investigating officers, police officers, they are the executive, they are the state. They are arbitrarily violating the fundamental right of the accused person, which is not allowed by the Indian Constitution. Right. So the arrest will be declared as illegal, and it will be declared as illegal, and the court will immediately, will forthwith direct the investigating officer to release the accused person. And since his fundamental rights are being violated, he can file the petition, he can file the writ of habeas corpus. He can file the writ of habeas corpus. Okay, the writ of habeas corpus directly, since it is a violation of the fundamental right, the accused person can directly approach the Supreme Court under Article 32 or before the High Court under Article 226, as the case may be, and can file the writ of habeas corpus, and the Supreme Court, the Honorable Supreme Court, will declare such arrest to be illegal, illegal and devoid of the constitutional core principles, and thus he will be immediately released, and he will be entitled to compensation. He will be entitled to compensation because fundamental right violate हुआ है तो compensation तो देना पड़ेगा उसको. So the state will be liable to provide him with the compensation. So this is how it is. So the crux is that even though we the people of India are the political sovereign, but we are subordinate. We are subservient. We are subservient. Subservient to the Indian Constitution. We the people of India are subservient to the Indian Constitution, and we can exercise our fundamental rights to the extent it is reasonable and not arbitrary and non-arbitrary, to the extent it is reasonable and non-arbitrary, and to the extent our our exercising of our fundamental rights is not violating the fundamental rights of other persons. हम अपना फंडामेंटल राइट एक्सरसाइज करने में किसी और का फंडामेंटल राइट वायलेट नहीं कर सकते. दैट इज नॉट अलाउड टू अस. Okay, if we do so, our fundamental right will be curtailed, and that will amount to reasonable curtailment on our fundamental rights. So thereafter, अब ये तो मैंने आपको ये बताया कि फंडामेंटल राइट्स रीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शन होगा तो ठीक है, नहीं अनरीजनेबल रेस्ट्रिक्शन होगा तो वो अलाउड नहीं होगा बाय वे ऑफ अरेस्ट. दिस एग्जाम्पल आई हैव मेड इट क्लियर टू यू. बट कहीं कहीं ये भी होता है कि एक पर्सन है, एक सिटीजन है, वो अपना फंडामेंटल राइट एक्सरसाइज कर रहा है, कोई भी फंडामेंटल राइट हो वो एक्सरसाइज कर रहा है, बट उसके एक्सरसाइज करने की वजह से किसी और का फंडामेंटल राइट वायलेट हो रहा है. दिस इज ऑल्सो नॉट अलाउड, है ना, ये भी अलाउड नहीं है. तो देन हिज फंडामेंटल राइट विल बी कर्टेल्ड ऑन दिस ग्राउंड. ठीक है, बिकॉज वी ऑल्सो हैव द लीगल ड्यूटी टू प्रोटेक्ट द फंडामेंटल राइट्स ऑफ अदर्स, राइट. तो इसके लिए दो केसेस हैं, सरला मुदगल वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया एंड द लिली थॉमस वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. So these cases we will be discussing tomorrow in brief only. We will be discussing tomorrow in brief only. And for today, I am stopping here only. And till then, thank you. Take care.